From the New Arts and Media Studios in Milwaukee, I'm Charles Purcell. This is The Log. Well, it's the same old problem. As I hit record, of course, there's lots of breaking news. And there's a little time lag here between the time I record and edit and the time you hear this. So, same old story. With that little proviso in place, the shutdown looks like it's pretty much a done deal now. It's over. By the time you hear this, I imagine the House will have voted and the orange meat puppet has probably even signed it. So by the time you hear this, I think it's a done deal. My big prediction was Sunday night during the third quarter of Sunday Night Football. That was my prediction. And I was pretty close to being right because that's when the 7 Democrats and 1 independent caved last Sunday night and put everything in motion. So it didn't actually happen in that moment, but I'll take credit for that win. Now, where I was wrong, I thought the Democrats were going to get the win. Boy, was I wrong. Man, that's maybe the wrongest I've ever been. So I got the timing pretty well right when it would be over, but the results, boy, man. Well, let's talk about that in a little while. I want to talk about just get a couple things off the table first. Epstein. There was a release of like 22,000 emails today. It's funny. The Democrats released them on the Oversight Committee or whichever committee is doing this. And then a few hours later, the Republicans released like 20,000 more just to try to confuse the issue. And the Republicans, this is why I'm laughing, the Republicans accused the Democrats of cherry picking. 22,000 emails is cherry picking? I don't think so. No, I don't think so. Anyway, I've been saying this consistently about the Epstein files, and I am a lone voice, which means, I don't know, I'm probably wrong on this one too. I don't understand why I'm a lone voice on this, but let me give it to you. Everybody says release the Epstein files. I don't understand that. If the DOJ and the FBI investigate somebody, or a lot of people in a particular crime or racket, you don't release the files. That ruins your case. You can't disclose your case. If the people mentioned in the files are innocent, you can get in a lot of trouble. You can, and if they're guilty, you've blown your case by poisoning the well against them. You don't release files. No, you make charges. You charge the people who you think are guilty. You don't put it to a vote for the American people to decide. That's not how the justice system works. So this whole release the files thing, I've never understood. You want to bring these people to justice, releasing the files is the last thing you want to do. Because the second you do that, they can make their case in court that they weren't given a fair shake. And they'd be right. Whether guilty or innocent. So I've never understood this whole release the files thing. No, you want to charge the people in the files. I can't help but think it's just 100%. Well, it's righteous indignation. I'll give most people credit for that. Yeah, they're angry. Because it's pretty evident that heinous crimes were committed against children. And can't be having that. So the fact that no charges have been brought, except for Ghislaine Maxwell, who's sitting in a concierge private apartment with room service and a possible pardon on the horizon for her. Yeah, get angry about that. But no one else charged. None of the men, none of the rich, powerful men. So yeah, there's plenty of righteous indignation to have. But if you really want them to meet justice, then releasing the files is the last thing you want. You want them to be charged. And all this yelling about release the files is at this point just pure politics. Because, yeah, everybody hopes and thinks that the orange meat puppet is going to be in there somewhere. We'll finally get him. No, nobody wants that more than I do, but this is not the way to do it. Aladita Grijalva, the representative from Arizona, has finally been sworn in after 50-plus days, where MAGA Mike Johnson refused to swear her in because she was the last signature on the discharge petition, which will force a vote. There again, here's something else that nobody ever really mentions. All that does is force a vote. Okay, good. It puts everybody on the record. That's always a good sort of political move. Puts people on the record. But that's all it is, a political move. It's not going to get the files released. Because even if the House passes, then it has to go to the Senate. It has to pass the Senate. And then it has to go to the president for his signature. You know, I'm just a bill. Yes, I'm only a bill. You know how that works, right? So, raise your hands. Who thinks that's going to happen? Of course it's not going to happen. So stop with release the files. Here's what you need to do instead. You need to demand that the Department of Justice continue the investigation and bring some damn charges. Let's get some indictments. You do that. Now, you might think, well, you can't bark up that tree. You know, Pam Blondie isn't going to answer those demands. Okay. Of course. You demand anyway. And it gives you one more reason to topple the regime. It gives you one more talking point when you try to convince people to turn the government over in the midterms and impeach and remove the regime. And here's the other thing you do. The names are there. People have the names. The men. The rich, powerful men who abused and raped children. The victims have the names. They're afraid to release them, and who can blame them? Because they've all been threatened with their lives and their families' lives. These criminals, these rich, powerful, billionaire men, rapists, are not fooling around. They've threatened these women with their lives and with their families' lives, and they're afraid to disclose the names. They have the names. So somehow, we have to help them get those names out in the public. Get those names revealed. I'll be honest, I don't know how to do that. I heard somebody suggest that the women of Congress should announce them on the floor of the House and the Senate. They should name the names. I thought that sounded like a pretty good idea. Now again, it puts the victims in some jeopardy. But if you want any movement on this, we got to force their hand. Just haphazardly releasing everything. I'll never understand why people keep harping on that. Because the second you do that, you kill any chance of any convictions. That's not how the legal process works. You can't do that. I don't know. You tell me where I'm wrong. I'm the only one saying this, so obviously I must be wrong somewhere. Please correct me. Anyway. The world's largest aircraft carrier is now sitting off the coast of Venezuela in a story very much related to the Epstein files, I'm sure, and related to everything else in the news, because nothing like a good old war to suck up all the headlines. 2 more attacks since last we spoke, so it's up to 19 attacks now on these small boats. 76 people dead, murdered. International crimes, war crimes, by the Orange Meat Puppet, by Pete Hegseth, by any officers ordering these strikes. So, yeah, war in Venezuela, war in Nigeria, they're threatening for some reason. They're threatening to bomb Mexico. Yeah, the regime has just gone wild here. United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Turk, has condemned the boat strikes. Quote, "These attacks and their mounting human cost are unacceptable. The U.S. must halt such attacks and take all measures necessary to prevent the extrajudicial killing of people aboard these boats, whatever the criminal conduct alleged against them." Several countries have stopped coordinating cooperating with the United States regarding intelligence, Colombia being one of them, an important partner, actually, the government of Colombia in the so-called war against drugs. But now they're holding back with intelligence because they don't want to be any part of these murders. Yeah, typically, every other president who wants to go to war, they've been ignoring Congress since Vietnam, since Korea. They've been ignoring Congress, violating the Constitution by not recognizing Article 1 of the Constitution that says only Congress can declare war. That's, we lost that a long time ago. Not that I'm okay with it. I'm just saying it hasn't been used in a long time. So, of course, that's happening. But in addition to that, at least every president since then has tried to make a case. They've gone to Congress. They've told Congress. They've told the American people what they're doing, why they're doing it. They try to create alliances. They get different nations together to agree that this is something we should do, especially nations in the region. There's none of that. It's just the meat puppet and his little cosplay Department of War Fox host Pete Hegseth and a few sniveling sycophants in the White House, just deciding that we make war. We're tough guys. Yeah, so Colombia is out. United Kingdom has suspended sharing some intelligence with the Pentagon because of these strikes. Canada, the Netherlands has restricted sharing information with the U.S. So not only are they not creating alliances, there are countries lining up against us. Yeah, we gotta topple this regime. That's all there is to it. But not before I get my $2,000 tariff bonus check. Boy, I'm excited about that. Aren't you excited? You're going to get $2,000. Wow. So exciting. Now, my question is, will I have to return that $2,000 after the Supreme Court rules against his ridiculous tariffs? Will that $2,000 they've given me have to be clawed back, as they put it? What a bunch of nonsense. Let's talk a little bit about the mass blackout, November 25th through December 2nd. I don't care if you're on the left or on the right. It doesn't matter anymore. It's the 1%, the 10% who run everything, who own everything, against the rest of us. So, Black Friday weekend. No spending, no streaming, no restaurants, no travel, no work, no nothing through that weekend. Just black out the system. Black Friday weekend and Cyber Monday. The idea here from the organizers, and it makes sense, don't stock up the day before so that there's a big spike in spending. No, between right now and Black Friday, you just need to, a little bit, day by day, get what you need. So make sure you're covered for that long weekend so you can actually take part. So little by little, day by day, so there's no big spike, get what you need. Please, please, please avoid corporations at all costs. Buy at small independent businesses. Use cash if you can. Now, there are other events and organizations who are all coming together at the same time. One being the People's Sick Day. The People's Sick Day, nationwide. So you want to call in sick or call out sick? That's one of those cases where call out and call in mean the same thing. So as an organized protest here, we're asking that you call out sick. No work. And again, it's all coordinated in this same time frame, this November 25th through December 2nd. Some demands listed here from the People's Sick Day, calling for the impeachment, removal, and arrest of the Orange Meat Puppet and the Republican administration for knowingly manipulating the U.S. stock market, ignoring the U.S. Constitution, trafficking humans, and destroying our federal workforce. He is a criminal. Lock him up. You could name 25 other violations of law and the Constitution and international law. The cold-blooded murders of 76 people included. Demand hands-off of Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, SNAP, and veterans benefits. Demand the removal of caps on Social Security. No more tax breaks for the rich. Tax them all. Several others here. Those being the top 3 or 4. So, blackoutthesystem.com or .org. The People's Sick Day. You want to look that up. And then the Big Beautiful Boycott is another movement. Again, all coordinating here on the same days. Looking at the website. And they name a lot of companies, but as we always say around here, it's everybody. It's just corporate goods generally. But if you want to, take a look at bigbeautifulboycott.us. And then right before that, the weekend prior, November 22nd, actually the events actually start on November 20th. Big gathering in the Capitol in Washington, D.C. Remove the regime. It's a big old party. Speakers, music, everybody coming together to call for the impeachment and removal. And everybody's in on that, of course, 50-51 and everybody. So if you can get to D.C., that'd be great. I haven't heard that there are any other events happening around the nation, but maybe there are. Check with your people. I have to say, now that the shutdown is finally going to be behind us, I've been pretty annoyed at how airlines and canceled and delayed flights have been almost the top story leading the corporate news every night. I found this very annoying. It's so indicative of this sort of tunnel vision that we have in this corporate bubble. Because I don't even remember the last time I flew anywhere. I don't fly. Most people don't fly. People don't fly. Yeah, I know. Yeah, thousands of people in these airports. You see the video every night, and you hear about millions of people being there are 350 million people in this country, right? Or 340 something. But the problem we have is the people who fly several times a week, the people who need to do it because that's their job, they have the kind of job that requires that, or they have the kind of money that affords that. They can just jump on a plane whenever they want to. These are the people who make the rules. These are the people who run things. The media we see, and the people who make the media we see, do not reflect the majority of Americans. You got to remember that. Every talking head you see on television is in either the top 1% or at the very least in the top 10%. Most of them are in the top 1%, many of them in the top 0.1%. What you see in media is not us. Corporate leadership and corporate media are of, by, and for themselves. They're not of, by, and for the people. It's amazing to watch them in their little interactions with each other. How unaware, how clueless they are. Just completely unaware of the water they're swimming in, of the air they breathe. They're just in this self-interested bubble. They're part of the bourgeoisie, as Marx would call them, or the petty bourgeoisie. The people who own everything, and then the people who work for the people who own everything. And then even one level down, Marx called the labor aristocracy. So those are people who work for a living. But they're doing pretty well because they bought in. They're working for those in power. That's not most of us. And flying is a perfect illustration of this. I looked this up. 10 to 15% of Americans have never flown once in their entire life. Over half of us, approximately 60% of us, did not take a flight in the past year. Most of us have not taken a flight once in the past year. And yet it leads the news every single night. When you look up the average, it'll tell you that The average American takes 1.5 flights per year. But average is always a really bad way to look at the truth, because there's that small number of Americans who take several flights per week. They're flying constantly. As I said before, either they have the kind of job that requires it, or they're just on a plane, like the orange meat puppets on a plane every week to Mar-a-Lago at taxpayers' expense. So yeah, that 1.5 times per year for the average American is completely misleading. Most people don't fly at all. And I'm harping on this one area because it is just a perfect illustration of the economic strata, the hierarchy of income and wealth distribution. Most of us are paycheck to paycheck. Most of us have no disposable income at all. Most of us are one major illness away from bankruptcy. And yet the people who get the attention from Congress and the people we see constantly force-fed into our feeds, in our news media, even in popular culture, in movies, etc., they're all the top 10, if not the top 1%. So that was one of the more annoying aspects of the shutdown for me. All this hand-wringing and pearl-clutching about people missing flights. Come on. Let's get the proper perspective on who and what we are as a nation. Well, I suppose before it's too long in our rearview mirror, I should give you my take on the end of the shutdown and the caving of the Democrats. You know damn well that Schumer and pretty much the entire Democratic caucus wanted to do what the 8 senators did. They all wanted to cave. They just let the 8 do the dirty work, the 8 who are not up for re-election, which obviously is no coincidence. Bernie said at one point in an interview recently that maybe 8 or 9 senators out of the 43 who caucus with the Democrats, maybe 8 or 9 he would consider progressive. I think he's being pretty generous. But let's say Bernie's right about that. So all of the Democratic senators, to me, this is just as plain as the nose on your face. They all wanted to cave from the very beginning. They were only standing firm because the voters gave them no choice. The base of the Democratic Party is in lockstep with fighting to the end. So this is what we always say. You got to give the lawmakers no choice. You have to force their hand. They'll never do the right thing on their own. We have to force it. None of them wanted this. They all wanted to cave, all but the maybe 8 or 9 that Bernie mentioned. See, this way they can have it both ways. They can tell their voters that they fought for them. Oh, they fought so hard. And then at the same time, cave to the repugnance. They can have it both ways. They all wanted it. So it was an obvious, at best, a wink and a nod to the 8, or just an outright backroom scheme, which is even more likely, I would say. Now, the silver lining is what I just said. It proves that your pressure works. Not one senator up for re-election dared to cave, even though they wanted to. You know damn well they wanted to. So if there's a silver lining, I think that's it. It proved that we can force them, which is all the more reason here that we have to allow this sad shutdown scenario to give us some hope. And the lesson we have to take from it is to keep the pressure on. Every Democratic representative, every Democratic senator must be primaried. If you can't do it yourself, find somebody in your district who can primary challenge incumbent Democrats. Run on the 80-20 issues. Run on demagifying government, including impeachment and removal. Run against corporate money. Run against Israel. I think the shutdown reinforces this idea. I mean, make no mistake, this was the establishment Democrats, this was the corporate Democrats putting their foot down. It wasn't just the 8, it was all of them. It was just like when they sabotaged Bernie's presidential run. It's the reason a bunch of them could not endorse Zoran Mamdani in New York. They are scared out of their pants of the direction of the American people. They're afraid of their own base. They hate their own base. At this point, saying corporate Democrats is just redundant. A corporate Democrat is just a Democrat. They hate Mamdani. They hate Bernie. They hate you. They hate their voters. But they think this is a big political win. Oh, we fought for you. And they put health care and affordability on the front news burner. Oh, look what we did. It's a political win, they're saying. Just like always with the Democrats, with the establishment corporate Democrats. It's all politics all the time. It's all promises all the time, and never a delivery. Never. Not only do they fail to deliver, let's get this straight. They're not failing to deliver. They don't want to deliver. They don't want what you want. They don't want what their base wants. They don't want universal health care. Your Democratic representatives in Congress, except for a handful. They don't want solutions that go against their corporate donors. No, they're not failing to deliver. They're choosing not to deliver. And this cave, this 8-senator cave to end the shutdown, is a crystal clear indication. Others are jumping on our bandwagon, which makes me very happy. Indivisible.org, a very good organization. They've been putting together action plans that everybody can join in. They've been helping to organize the big events. Well, they now have a campaign specifically encouraging primary challengers to Democrats. Indivisible2026.org. Indivisible2026.org. Check it out. They are now on our bandwagon, asking that all Democrats be primaried and that the leadership be toppled. Electoral politics, looking forward to the midterms. That can't be our only game, of course, as you and I know full well. That's why the daily pressure is so important that we were just talking about, keeping the pressure up. That's why blackout the system, people's sick day, the big beautiful boycott, that's why they're so important. But to the extent that elections can still make a difference, and we have to fight like hell to make sure the 2026 midterms even happen, and if we are able to get to those elections, that they're fair. So yeah, there's plenty that needs to happen right now, today, and every day to make sure we even get there. I think the fact that the Democrats were forced to shut down the government for 45 days or whatever it was is a good sign that our pressure works. We got to keep it up. The last election, only now, just 2 weeks in the rearview mirror, was a sign that MAGA is vulnerable. Every single candidate that was endorsed by the Orange Meat Puppet lost. Every single one. Every single Moms for Liberty candidate lost. 31 school board races in these last elections. They lost every single one of them, all 31 races. Not one candidate endorsed by Moms for Liberty won their race. So, there it is. Stay in the fight. Every day. Every day. We got this. We got this. All right. There it is. This and all other episodes can be heard at the website, charlesburcell.com, or on your favorite podcast platform. Thanks to our flagship terrestrial station, River West Radio in Milwaukee. Find us on Substack and Blue Sky. Peter Donalds wrote and performed our theme song. All right, there it is. I love you. See you out there.